Meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
And it is also streaming on the Cleveland City Council website for those that are watching, as any public meeting would be, where there's a quorum of members. Okay, lawyers, I'm covered, right?
The rest
All
of
right,
us
we're
just have to
ready.
be careful what we say.
Okay. Yes.
Excellent. Well, why don't we start this meeting, which is an introduction, really an overview of the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission. And my name is Doug Neary. I'm the chairman over at CalFE, but in this particular role, I'm the chairman of the board of the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission, which I think you all have some general familiarity with. You've been, our organization is dedicated to generating economic development for and enriching the communities of the city of Cleveland and surrounding communities. And we have a big board. We have a board of about 75 leaders from the region, corporate executives, top officials in each of our 3 pro sports teams. A lot of well-connected people. That's one element of our kind of community partnership. And another one is our partnership with the city of Cleveland and the things that the city has done with us and for us, including obviously the very exciting upcoming NFL draft. So I just want to thank the city for this partnership and want to introduce briefly a couple of those significant board members who are on this call today. And I'm just checking to see who's actually signed on. Terry Grisco, who is the president and CEO of CBiz, which is a public company, business services, very successful Cleveland area business. I see John Steinbrecher, who is the commissioner of the Mid-American Conference, a very important figure for us and for the city. And we are likely to be joined by some others, including Dave Jenkins, who you probably know. He's the EVP and the Chief Operating Officer for the Browns, and Chaz Withers, who's the CEO of Dixon Eaton, and hopefully Cindy Flynn from Union Home Mortgage. So I'm going to turn it over to David Gilbert, who almost goes without introduction, but he's the rock star CEO and president of the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission. And there's me going over the hurdle.
And not me in the pool. Thanks, Doug. And it's nice to see a lot of friends on here. And for some I don't know, as Doug mentioned, I'm David Gilbert from the Sports Commission. And thanks for taking the time. We're going to spend the majority of the time talking about the draft and giving an update, but want to give, for those of you who aren't aware, who we haven't done as much work with, just a little bit of an overview of the organization. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We've been around for about 21 years, and our job, more than anything else we do, is to improve the economy of Cleveland. And it's at the core and at the heart of what we do, how we measure our success. Although you'll hear there's certainly more we do, but we do it by competing with other cities around the country, around the world, for the rights to host major national and sometimes international sporting events, and ultimately the dollars that come with that. Doug mentioned we're governed by a great board. Ken Johnson, councilman, has been on our board for a long time. And we always thought, I'm not going to read them all, but looking at what our core values are, just very important to us. This is something we revisit regularly, and make sure that we are living by what these core values are. We're a big organization in the sports commission world. We're part of a national association. There's over 200 sports commissions around the country that compete every day to do what we do for their community. We have 14 full-time staff people, a couple part-time. And again, not a big organization, but it really helps us in a sizable size in our industry to be able to do what we do. And again, the most important thing we do is we bid and compete to host events, mostly other people's events in the NCAA world, the Olympic governing body world, a lot of other big events like the National Senior Games, the Gay Games, the Transplant Games of America. We just announced the Pan Am Masters Games coming to Cleveland in 2024. And then when we are awarded those events, and I'll talk about it, get really involved in running and managing those events. Cleveland is an industry leader. If you look at any of the measures in an industry, in an average year, the number of events we host, the size and scale, economic impact of those events, I'd say for at least the last 10 years, Cleveland always ranks as, one of the top 3 to 5 cities in the country. And I think important, the last one is we don't just do business development. We don't just go out there and compete, but part of what we believe a little bit of our secret sauce is, between our organization and working with lots of partners in the community, including the city, we are a partner in those events. We bring to the table services that make these events more successful in Cleveland than anywhere else that they have been held. The attraction of the events is really part of a bid process. Oftentimes that process, like the NFL draft, can be a couple of years in the making. And we are constantly on the scope and developing relationships in this world, in the event world, and identifying events that might make sense for Cleveland. We do a feasibility to see if they make sense financially and otherwise. We align our partners from around the community. We're big on talking internally about how do we wrap the community around an event. It's critically important that we find out anyone who owns an event, how are they going to define success, and how are we going to do our work to make that better? Developing bid presentations, site visits, oftentimes multiple of each until a decision is made. Good example, this Pan American Masters Games we just were awarded for 2024. It will be the largest international gathering in the city's history. We've been pursuing that event for almost 6 years, and we finally got awarded. And the last time we lost out, we were second to Rio de Janeiro. So, a lot of times some really interesting competition. And then, of course, once we are awarded an event, we have a whole suite of services that we provide at no cost to the event's rights holder. And this very much, again, is part of the secret sauce of why they choose Cleveland. They choose Cleveland in part because our city works for them. Our job is to sell our city, and every one of us is passionate about our community. Above and beyond that, it's also these services that we can offer to make their event better. And oftentimes this is why we are chosen as a community, because the Sports Commission has the ability to bring these and more things to the table. Financially, our annual budget is around $2 million a year. Give or take. Sometimes a lot depends on the events we host. Our operating budget is about 1.8. Depending, this year we'll have $4 million additional dollars in and out related to money we had to raise and then pay out to put on the draft. And so every year is a little different, but core operating 1.8 to $2 million. A lot of different sources. You see the one in yellow. We've been feel very fortunate that for a number of years, both the city and county have provided economic development grants. We also know we can never take this for granted. And year in and year out, we need to be showing the city, the county, and other supporters around the community the ROI they get for that investment. And we look at it as an investment. And our job is to take those dollars and put them back into the city's general fund multifold. And same with the county and private sector through jobs created by these events. So I'm gonna stop there. I'm gonna turn it back over to Doug to talk about our equity task force, just something really important to us that we spent a lot of time and energy on this year, refining those efforts, and then we'll be talking more about the draft. Doug?
Yeah, thank you, David. So I'm not going to, we could spend an hour just on this topic alone, but suffice it to say that like many organizations, we were doing a lot of things well. We were doing a lot of things with a lot of focus, but the way the world has unfolded of late, it's really brought more attention and priority for us and many others about looking at ways we can improve and enhance equity, inclusiveness, and basically we have the benefit of sports, which is a unifying, um, programmatic, unifying platform that we want to take advantage of for the purpose of unifying people and making sure our organization is doing better on these fronts. So we put together a task force. The slide before reflected the fact that we have 19 of our board members who signed up and volunteered to be involved in this task force to show how important it is. We have 5 of our top staff members. We've gotten into a lot of actual work rather than just talk, because our objective is to come through this taking advantage of the things that we do well and making them better, and also reinforcing and communicating them better. Because I think when you communicate the positive things that are being done and the results that are being generated by it, it creates a snowball effect and a positivity that becomes contagious. So we've developed several different functional areas that we're focusing on: the workforce, which is obviously the people that make up our organization, not just the staff, but that big board we talked about. We want to make sure it continues to reflect diverse perspectives and inclusive ideas and approaches. We have a very big, what we call associate board, which is sort of the junior board of young up and coming leaders, and then interns and volunteers. And we have, for each of these areas, we have identified specific tasks around these areas. We have a workplace, which is sort of the culture around our organization and the people with whom we do business. And then there's the marketplace, which is our forward-facing initiatives and activities where we think there's probably the most leveraging opportunity because of the kinds of things that we get involved in, including the big ones that you're aware of. And you're going to hear more in our presentation about that. Some really, really cool stuff. And this is part of our mission of enriching the community and making sure it's reflective of the community we play in, so to speak. So again, we're making significant progress. If you go to the next slide, you'll see some of the things we've already accomplished. We have dashboards that we report to our board on every meeting with deliverables and accountability. And I think you're gonna hear from others coming up here about some of the kind of what I would call bigger ticket items that are outward facing, that either we've already put on or are going to be included as part of, for example, the NFL draft. So I won't kind of steal that thunder, but this is sort of a imperative to us, and I think we're doing a very good job. And we're always open to new ideas, though. We don't, no one has a monopoly on good ideas in this respect.
All right, I think I'm up.
Yep.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you all again. So velocity, I think many of you have heard the term from us before, but just as a reminder, so velocity is essentially the umbrella campaign that we put together to raise the necessary funds to cover community obligations tied to the Major League Baseball All-Star Game in 2019, NFL Draft this year, NBA All-Star Game in 2022, and then the NCAA Women's Final Four in 2024. So that's that sort of blanket campaign. All told, it's around $15 million in cash and in kind. And again, that's just to make sure that we cover the community's obligations. So we'll jump right into the NFL draft. I know that's a hot topic lately. This is something, as David referenced, we've been working on this for over 4 years. We first bid on the draft in 2017, and were awarded in May of 2019. So just about 2 years ago, but now we're 27 days away. So I guess, as I mentioned, we started bidding in 17. It's important to point out that there were 22 NFL cities that were a part of the original bid process. So, David referenced how competitive the landscape is. And an event, especially an event as notable as this one, the competition's steep, and you better be very good at what you do. Fortunately, our community is, and it's a lot because of the partners that you see on the screen right here. In particular, with the draft, the city of Cleveland is a massive partner. Obviously, the Browns played a big role. Destination Cleveland and Downtown Cleveland Alliance. Really, I would just say if you took out any one of these organizations, it would be really difficult for us to pull this event off. It's that big and just takes a whole lot of collaboration. And there's many more organizations that are involved, but I would say this is sort of the big five for this particular event. So, why do we go after events like this? It really ties back to things David and Doug talked about, and that's first and foremost economic impact. But then secondarily, it's it's a great opportunity for Cleveland to shine and improve our image nationally and internationally, and have some great legacy projects that are left behind. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So this year's NFL draft, as you know, is going to be socially distanced and not going to quite look like we anticipated, when we were awarded the event. It's certainly not going to look like Nashville or Dallas or some of the recent host cities where you literally saw hundreds of thousands of people. But it's important to note that 55 million people watched the NFL draft last year over 3 days. So imagine the opportunity to showcase our community, and our community is going to look phenomenal during the event. And I'll share some renderings and talk through some of the city decor that we'll be doing and things like that. But we're taking that obviously very seriously, and very excited to get to show off our city. From an economic infusion standpoint, we'll see. We're working with state and local governments to see how many people that we can get in the space. That's still being finalized. But it will be thousands of people. And it's 3 days worth of it. It's not going to be $100 million in economic impact like we originally thought it would be. But, when I look at just the NFL's room block is approaching 10,000 rooms. So that's just the people that they'll have in our community to put on the event. And if you think about that, it's been a long time since there's been any group in town, that put 10,000 room nights in our hotels. So again, under the current conditions, we're sort of, David likes to say we're thinking about what it is doing, not what it's not doing, and we're really trying to take that position. It's going to make a significant impact to our hospitality community, which has been, as you know, devastated through the pandemic. And the last bullet point is just resident pride. David always talks about, we need to get our swagger back as a community, and this is a great chance. Look, we always talk about being resilient and being gritty. We have a chance now to show the world that we're a community that can pull off a large in-person event during a pandemic. So we're proud of that and looking forward to it. So here are the money shots, guys. As you can see, And thanks to the city of Cleveland, we were able to remove the 2 warehouses down at Dock 30 and 32, and certainly appreciate your support on that project. It looks great down there. I don't know if you guys have been down there lately, but starting Monday, we'll be building a large draft theater down there. The NFL just asphalted about 80,000 square feet down there in anticipation of the event on their dime. But it'll certainly improve the parking conditions down there once they pack up and leave. But again, you can see the footprint basically starts to the west at West 3rd Street, and you'll enter over by the Otto Graham statue there at the southwest corner of First Energy Stadium. That'll be one entrance point. It includes the entire stadium, all of the land to the north and east over to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So that will all be part of what they call the NFL draft experience. And we'll have activations throughout. And, basically, it's all free, but it'll be a timed ticket this year, three sessions daily, just in order to socially distance, but still get as many fans throughout the fan experience as we possibly can. I'll pause there. David, I don't know if you wanted to add anything specific to the footprint or Mark or Rachel.
The only thing I'd say is that it has played so well in our favor to have not only this a beautiful site and a unique site that shows off Cleveland, part of why the NFL really loved it here, but because of COVID, ultimately final numbers aren't there, but it'll allow us to have really maximize the number of people in this in the footprint of the experience. And because there's 500,000 square feet of outdoor space that will allow us to have significant numbers of people safely.
Thank you. And then this is a shot of the theater that is being built, or a rendering, I guess, of it. So this is what, this is the TV show right here. So this is certainly what you'll see. It's being built in a very unique manner in order to ensure appropriate social distancing and so forth. So it'll look very different than it has in other cities. But again, we think it's going to show off Cleveland really, really well. So again, it's a free interactive theme park, open for all 3 days of the NFL draft. The NFL draft experience will open early in the day, and then on Thursday and Friday, the draft will take place in the evening. It's 8 o'clock on Thursday, which is just round 1, and then 7 o'clock on Friday. And then the draft itself will take place during the day on Saturday. That's rounds 4 through 7. Ticketing. So everything will be through a one-pass app that the NFL, that you'd have to download. They're going to be announcing here certainly in the next week, how somebody goes ahead and secures a reservation. We know that there will be more people wanting reservations than people getting reservations. But we're working closely with the NFL to just try to make sure that we are as equitable and fair in distribution of all of those admissions as we can be. And then each night there'll be a concert featuring a nationally known act. So on Thursday night it'll be pre-draft, and then Friday and Saturday it'll be post-draft, and then we'll wrap up with fireworks each night. Some additional community benefits that we wanted to touch on, and we'll just kind of give you a high level. A lot more will be coming out in the coming days, but I was telling somebody yesterday, I've learned 2 things about the NFL through this process. The first is that they take safety and security. That is always number 1. It's the driver of every decision that they make, which is great. But the other thing is their commitment to the environment. And so they have a really robust sustainability plan in conjunction with all of their tentpole events, which the draft is certainly one of them. So for example, there'll be any food, for example, that's left over. They're working with the food bank. So on a daily basis, they'll be making sure that no food goes to waste. They'll be composting, they'll be recycling. They have that we're working with a number of social service agencies, Habitat for Humanity, Salvation Army, a number of local ones that we've connected them with. So when the draft theater comes down, there's materials that they don't take with them, whether it's wood, whether it's vinyl, it's even things like furniture. And so they'll be working with those social services agencies to make sure that nothing goes to waste and ends up in a landfill. So really inspiring to see how seriously they take that. The Business Connect piece of this. So the NFL has a strong commitment when they host an event like this to spend locally. But even they take it a step further and say, hey, help us connect with local MBEs, WBEs, veteran owned businesses, LGBTQ owned businesses. So Rachel Sensbacher, who you'll hear more from, has done a phenomenal job of helping them connect with those local businesses. So there'll be a food court, for example, within the draft experience that are those vendors. They're local restaurants. They're not chains, and you'll know these restaurants, but they all fit within those categories. So excited about some of their commitment in that space as well. We'll be doing a lot of youth programming as part of this. One of the things that Rachel and her team have done is secured over 200 tickets to the fan experience, which are going to be in really high demand for Saturday, that we'll be distributing through the City of Cleveland rec centers. So a whole lot more youth programming. Information will be coming out soon. And then there's a number of legacy projects. So the NFL always likes to, leave the community better than they found it. And so there are some projects being done, whether it's planting trees, community gardens. There's also refurbishment of inner city field and things like that. So a whole lot more coming out about that as well. I know the Browns community relations team has been really helpful in that as well. With that, I will turn it over to Rachel.
All right. Does anyone have any questions before I get started on a new topic here? No? Okay. So I'm Rachel Stensbacher. I've met many of you. A big part of my job is our community outreach activities that we host in conjunction with the sporting events that come to Cleveland. We do this in order to sort of expand the footprint of the event in Cleveland and also to use the events to make an impact in the community. So a couple of the smaller events that we have held and are going to be held are noted here. Keep in mind that we had some different plans leading into the draft, but of course, COVID messed everyone's plans up. So a couple of our events have gone virtual, and then you'll see we sort of put all of our eggs into one basket, and we're doing a kind of a mega program in a few weeks that you'll see in a moment. Wednesdays for Women is a program that we do each year in conjunction with the Mid-American Conference basketball tournament. Wednesday is the day that the women play their first round. And so we typically host a conversation around women in sports, women in the business of sports. Again, this year we did it virtually, and we actually had to push it a week. You know, life is wild right now. So we did a virtual panel that featured Callie Brownson from the Cleveland Browns, as well as Bianca Smith from the Boston Red Sox, two female coaches in male sports. And this was moderated by Allie LaForce from NBA on TNT. It was a fascinating conversation. The recording is available if you're interested in hearing it, but we just want to offer the opportunity for the public to hear these wonderful women talk about their experiences in sports, and also, you know, ask questions themselves. You know, we had a lot of public participation as well with this event. We have another one coming up on April 9th. This is the Forum of Football, Brown's alumni's platform for social equality. This is with Andrew Hawkins and Joe Thomas, both former Cleveland Browns players. They are known to be very good friends, but also sort of partners in crime when it comes to athlete activism and social justice. So they're going to be speaking with Dan Moulthrop from the City Club on the City Club's Friday Forum platform that will be broadcast on WCPN and all around the area, talking about how they use their platform as pro athletes and on-air personalities to raise awareness about social justice topics. So we're excited to have these two folks join us. We're sorry that we can't do this in person. And then the big one that we're working really hard on right now is called the Cleveland Power of Sports Summit. It's presented by KeyBank and the First Energy Foundation. Please note the very large web address here on this page, clesportsummit.org. You can find a lot more information about the summit there if you would like after the presentation is over. But basically, as I mentioned a moment ago, the reason why we do these events is so that we can provide opportunities for broad community participation around these major sporting events. We want to use these events as a springboard to further important community agendas, which in this case is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And we want to provide local sponsors and foundations with opportunities to be engaged and involved in the activities that we do, because sometimes with these major national events, there aren't local sponsorship opportunities. And so we like to engage them in other ways. Around Velocity generally, we're developing programs in 3 different categories: public engagement, which is like the Cleveland Power of Sports Summit and those 2 programs I mentioned earlier. Platform events, these are events that we're hosting continuously across all of the events in the Velocity series, like City Club, for example. We're hosting 1 event for City Club each year, and there are others. And then educational opportunities. This one got a little, messed up with the pandemic. We did a wonderful program in 2019 with the MLB All-Star Game with Warner Girls Leadership Academy. We had about 100 kids go through their the National Baseball Hall of Fame's education program, and it was fantastic. But it's fairly obvious and clear to say that schools were not really interested in any extra programming this year. They had a lot on their plate, so we're hoping to get back in with the schools in the next school year. So the Power of Sports Summit, this is a 3-day event at Progressive Field. It is a free community event, Thursday, April 29th through Saturday, May 1st. These are the same days as the draft. You can see we're open 12 to 6 on Thursday and Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturday. The summit will be a celebration of diversity, equity, and inclusion, demonstrating the power of sport as a catalyst for change. So we're showcasing local and national organizations that are using their voices to address these topics specific to adaptive sports, gender equity, racial equity, LGBTQIA, and mental health. So as I mentioned, it's a free ticketed event. We're hoping that we'll draw community members, corporate folks, students, folks that are in from out of town, and others that are interested in these topics. I will make a note that this is not really a family event or a kids event. These are going to be some tough topics that we're discussing. We're talking about, the trans bills, the trans athlete bills that are going around right now. We're talking about Native American imagery in sports. We're talking about, athlete activism as it relates to Black Lives Matter and other platforms, so just, we're trying to communicate that and make sure everyone knows that. Certainly we're not turning kids away, but it's for the most part not a kids event. The goals of the Power of Sports Summit are to allow attendees to explore new ideas, embrace differences, and enact positive change in their communities. There are 4 different activities for the most part happening at the summit. The first is the Equality Lounge. This is sort of like an event within an event. We've contracted with the Female Quotient and in partnership with the Cleveland Browns to have panel discussions every hour on the hour during the summit hours. So 6 panel discussions every day. We're drawing from obviously local professionals and experts in these topics. We're also pulling from the NFL's leadership. We're pulling from the Browns and the Cavs and the Indians leadership. We're utilizing business leaders all around, as well as professional athletes. So about a third of the conversations will be virtual, and they'll be shown on a screen. in the room at Progressive Field, and the other 2/3 will be live panel discussions at Progressive Field. I included just a few of the topics just so you could see what we're talking about. Obviously, the Browns are highly engaged, and we're also highly engaging CL3, which is the Cleveland Pro Sports Alliance that was recently formed. The other thing about this is that all of these conversations will be both available on site, so you can hear and participate on site, and they will be also broadcast via social media. So if you're at home on your couch, you also can participate if you don't feel like you're ready to come out to a public event. The Digital Learning Lounge, also available live and virtually. It actually launched today. So if you go to that website that I mentioned, extra points if you remember it, you'll see there's a curated collection of educational videos, clips, and courses on education, on diversity, equity, and inclusion through our website. And that will stay up until May 15th. Community Corner is an opportunity for organizations to have a tabling opportunity to promote their resources and activities that they're doing in the community. Again, they're primarily focused toward either sports or DE&I initiatives in the community. And then workshops, expos, and demonstrations. This is kind of our little bit of everything kind of area. It's presented by university hospitals, but we'll have workshops that are literally like, come into this room and see something new, try something new, learn something new, hands-on workshops. Like today, we confirmed one through the Diversity Center of Northeast Ohio. And we've got one with Positive Coaching Alliance about sports can battle racism. We're pulling all these different resources together so that we can offer workshops that will actually help people change their minds and see something new and different in the world that they're not already seeing. We also have some expos, things that will be there all weekend that you can see and interact with, again, around these topics of diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as demonstrations, for example, by the Wheelchair Cavaliers, the Dancing Wheels, and other groups like that. And that's what I have for you today. I know I could talk for another hour about it if you're interested, or you can go to our website, clesportssummit.org, and you can see everything that we're doing there. And please note also that things are continuing to be added and confirmed, so please check back often. The last thing I'll say is that for all of the council members that are on the call, we're going to be delivering postcards and posters to City Council next week, dropping them off at City Hall. So you'll have some if you want to take back into your wards. We also are going to be delivering to the CDCs, the Cuyahoga County Public Libraries, the Cleveland Public Libraries, as well as restaurants and corner stores and things like that around the community, in addition to the online promotion that we're doing as well. Any questions? Okay. David, you're up.
Going to jump back in just really quick here. Before I just talk a little bit about NBA All-Star Game, I just want to reiterate just a few really important things. And Mike touched on some of them, but I think they really deserve some additional highlighting. When we were awarded this event, it really is, by almost any measure, one of the single largest events that our community or any community in the United States can host. Nashville, the last fully live draft, estimated just over 100,000 out-of-market visitors. I mean, that's an astounding number. And while we're not going to have that, we do expect it's going to be in the tens of thousands. And I was talking, actually been talking a lot the last week in particular, as we've been rolling a lot of this out to a lot of the businesses, restaurants, hotels, retail that have really suffered the most during COVID. And what they were talking a lot about is they just feel like this coming here, while it's not going to be as big as we initially thought, the timing of it, which is this still large, safely distanced event, but coming out of COVID, is coming at such a unique time that can really accelerate what these businesses need to hang on through the other side of COVID. And we know those are the types of businesses in particular that suffered the most. And we think long term, this is going to be so important to Cleveland, not just for that week, but because this is going to help us jumpstart these industries coming out of COVID, unlike any other city is going to have. And lastly, just reiterating what Mike said, over the past few years, the average audience for the draft around the country is over 50 million viewers. And you'll watch this on TV, and I urge you to go on and certainly come downtown, walk around, you'll see a lot of it. But also watch some of it on TV. What the NFL does to integrate what they will be doing to integrate Cleveland into the draft in every way, not just a handful of nice beauty shots every once in a while, but really the essence of our community is going to be the kind of marketing that we simply couldn't buy with that kind of audience. And we fully expect to be taking advantage of that. So we're still just so excited about what this is going to bring. And then, of course, right on the heels of this, in 10.5 months, we have the next enormous event, the next $100 million event for Cleveland. And those don't come along very often in the NBA All-Star Game. Planning has already started for that, already working closely with the Cavs, the city, NBA, with this. And not only will it be another All-Star Game, it's going to be the 75th anniversary of the NBA, which is going to make it even bigger and broader than in other years. And the celebrity factor that's going to come with that, and the media factor is just going to be multiplied from what it already normally is. So we've got just a lot of great stuff ahead of us. And I'll turn it over to Jerry to be our closer, and then hopefully any other questions.
Great. Thank you, David. I do want to close by just thanking you for taking the time this afternoon to spend time with us and understanding not only what we do, but why we do it, right? And you've heard about all the branding opportunities that comes to the city of Cleveland, and the number of viewers that will be exposed to the city of Cleveland, and the number of people that come into the city of Cleveland, what we do for our youth programs and the recreation centers and the affinity programs and all those things. Not to lose track of the over almost $850 million that in economic impact that we've had on our community since our inception. And I know that David and Doug and others, you've heard throughout the presentations the word partnership. We take a lot of pride. You should take a lot of pride in all that we've accomplished over that period of time through this partnership that we have with the city of Cleveland. That $850 million obviously provides much needed funds to the city of Cleveland, very, very useful funds there, but also obviously every one of those dollars helps supports jobs in our community. Those jobs obviously help support our families, and by extension, housing and food and healthcare and education, and the list goes on, right? So we just wanted to end by saying thank you. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for the support that you've provided over the years. Thank you for your ongoing support. And without that support, we couldn't nearly be as impactful as we have been. So just want to conclude by saying thank you, and I'll turn it back over to David for Q&A.
Yeah, I guess we just want to, just if from any of the stuff you've heard, if want to open it up to any questions.
Kevin has his hand raised.
It might be my browser, but I did a quick sidetrack to the website and it didn't come up for me. So it might be my browser. Just an FYI.
PleaseSportsSummit.org. I'll put it in the chat.
Okay. It's probably my browser. But I just wanted to, make the point of everything that we just talked about. The city of Cleveland is an investor in the Sports Commission, and it's really the amount of funding that we provide, which is in the $250,000 a year range. We really get tremendous bang for that buck in terms of what it does for the community. So I just wanted to make sure we all recognize what this partnership does for the city of Cleveland by our commitment and our continued support of Sports Commission. I would also just ask, and I was trying to watch along. So is it determined how the everyday fan, what is the best way for the everyday fan to participate in the NFL draft?
So Kevin, the number one thing people could do, everything is free. So that's the best part. And what people can do is go on to NFL.com/draft. And it will give you all the information that's needed, including downloading the NFL's One Pass app. And starting, I believe, early next week, they will be able to go on that app and sign up for free tickets for one of a number of different sessions for the NFL experience. And that's where the most people are going to be able to be involved and engaged and see this is that NFL experience, almost that NFL playground. And then there'll be a far more limited number just because of size and scale inside closer to the stage. The NFL is going to announce in the coming weeks how they're going to allow folks there.
Right. And I just want to reiterate, I do believe, as was stated, that, this is kind of a significant launching point out of COVID. And I think that the NBA All-Star Week is going to be the exclamation point on this journey out of this terrible time. And you really look at how the restaurants have suffered, and these are the types of things that can really help them, the hospitalities industry. So just I think that I'm really looking forward to the draft, and I want to be able to tell constituents and everyday fans how they can best be a part of it. But I think just based on this and what we've talked about, this is a great return on our investment from the city of Cleveland. So thank you all for what you do.
Thanks, Kevin, very much.
Absolutely. We really appreciate it, especially you saying it live on YouTube.
Yes.
Now, really enjoy the partnership and appreciate the time. So thank you, everybody, very much.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that we do this every year, and there's normally very little media interest, but boy, that NFL draft, you just breathe that, and everybody's thirsty for any nugget of information. So
there might be 55 million people watching this video.
It could be.
So I apologize for having to be the grumpy uncle, but I concur totally with what Kev said. I completely agree. If you guys have some way for us to send this out to our constituency, that would be great, because some of us have some very extensive databases. It'll even be nice if I think it's Rachel or whoever is a part of that can really help us. It's always good to make sure that there's great neighborhood representation, that this isn't something that people from outside the region get to enjoy, but not Clevelanders. So let's, even if it's a way to set some things aside for other folks. But I got to be the grumpy uncle and ask about health and safety. There will be significant amount of us, me included, that will be double vaxxed and have our vaccines. My first question is, are you going to segregate some of the people that do show the passport card that has become controversial as mask, but show that people have been vaccinated? Some airlines and other places are doing it. And then I hate to ask, but are we prepared to make sure that we have social unrest in case there's any incidents of potential social unrest? And who's on the hook for that bill to make sure that we cover all those costs?
Blaine, great questions, and not grumpy uncle questions, because they're all things that we've been thinking about for a long time and working with the city on. So a few things with the health and safety, as Mike mentioned, absolutely number one from the NFL standpoint. The NFL has been working directly with the CDC, with the Ohio Department of Health and the city's Department of Health, and planning every bit of this. And they great experience in being able to put on a full NFL season and postseason, start to finish. The area for the draft experience, you will not have to have a vaccine, but it will be fully masked. The number of people in there is going to be calculated based on CDC guidelines for distancing. There will be hand washing stations. There will be hundreds of people monitoring masks, and people who aren't wearing a mask will be asked to leave. Food and beverage will only be in very certain areas. So they've worked really hard on developing the plan according to all CDC guidelines. Then above and beyond that, there will be parts of the draft, the live draft, where you will have to have been vaccinated to get in. A lot of those details are being finalized, how that will happen, and the announcements, we expect, overall probably in the next 10 days or so. But that is also going to be very important. Also, in terms of safety, I don't want to speak for City of Cleveland Safety Force. I'll say a few things if there's anybody on the line related to that, and if not, we could get back with more info. But I know I've been in discussions where City of Cleveland Safety Forces have been thinking long and hard about everything you talked about. The distancing, social unrest. NFL has been working with that as well. I do know that we have been working very closely on this entire event with the city for the local organizing committee paying for a good part of the safety force bill. A lot of that is being finalized, but we have raised some money to help offset those costs. And again, final details are being done, but I think one of the great things is we've had such a wonderful experience and partnership, with many events, but just having had MLB All-Star Game, knowing we were into this and others in the future, we've really developed a great relationship to think these things through as a partner very early on with city safety forces. And, even going back to RNC, they have great experience in it too. So it's really helped us to think these things out, not at the last minute, being very proactive in how that's done.
David, this is Mark from the Sports Commission. I can just a little bit more on this safety stuff. I'm in a weekly call that involved with the NFL security, and there have been calls for the past couple months that involve Homeland Security, Secret Service, U.S. Coast Guard, Highway Patrol, City of Cleveland Police, other outside ancillary police services, talking about like the intel they're looking at on social media, different platforms. There is so much research that goes into what is going on, what potential threats there are. Mike can speak to this. I know more about drones and drone mitigation systems and all kinds of things than I ever thought I would. So it's a very, very detailed plan for the draft experience, and any venue, whether it's a hotel or Progressive Field or the convention center, anything that has anything NFL involved with it, they have detailed security plans mapped out. So as I think Mike and David both mentioned, that's definitely top of mind on them, on their side, is the safety and security for the event.
And Dave, just to follow up, the reason I asked about that bill is because I know when the presidential debate came, it was a great event. It was in the great Ward 6, but I know there were questions about the bill. Now, actually, Cleveland Clinic wound up coming through and doing a great job. But I just want to make sure that our colleagues and Council President definitely knows this. We'll ask questions about who's going to be responsible for the bills once everything comes in. So thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Brian, I see you have your hand raised. Councilman Casey.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks, David. I just wanted to touch real quick. Well, first of all, I think the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission is one of the most unsung heroes in the city. And I noticed that you guys had put up that you've raised since 2000. I think it was since 2000, almost 800 or 843 million. And if you could just let us know when you hit that billion mark, or what event puts us over that billion mark. I think that would be something for the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission to really celebrate within the city of Cleveland. So kudos to everybody within the Greater Cleveland Sports Commission. If I could just touch on real quick the events that will be happening throughout the week that you'll have to download the app to get the tickets for. It sounds like to me, I think you said there was going to be three separate sessions a day for 3 days, which means, nine sessions. Do you know how many people will be allowed into each session? So do we know how many people will be attending that fan base, or how many limited number of tickets? And are those tickets available through the NFL, which means people worldwide, or will there be any reserve for any Clevelanders?
So the final number, Brian, at a time is not it's not finalized yet. What we know is it will be tens of thousands of people across the 3 days, but the final number they're still finalizing with the state and city and so on. When the tickets come out, they're not dividing in whether it's local or out of town. Quite frankly, we believe in particular this normally what's been calculated, if you look at Nashville, they calculate of total crowds are about half local, about half out of town. We believe this will still be heavily skewed local, more than the 50-50, because a lot of people still are not yet traveling. And it's interesting balance. We want out of town people, clearly that's where the spending comes in. But I think based on history and then with COVID, we think more than half will certainly be local. But the other thing too is I think locals right now are the ones who are really looking out the most, and because they know they're going to be here, they're going to be they're going to be ready to go, and the local media, including the information we give to you, excuse me, we hope that locals will be really on sort of ready, set, go when that information is out.
All right. And then the attendees for the draft itself, I believe you said that they would have to be individuals who are vaccinated. I think you said there was going to be 3,000 or so who actually watched or are in attendance for the draft itself. Those are all vaccinated individuals.
Yeah, and that number 3,000 didn't cover us because there hasn't been a final number determined.
Okay.
But we just know because of the size, it'll be a smaller number than can be in the draft experience. But you will have to have been vaccinated. And the NFL is working now on exactly what those protocols are. So it'll be very clear to people exactly what, where to go, what to do, and how to do that.
And then is that by invitation, or are there a limited number of tickets that would be available to the public for that portion of the event? Still
to be determined. Okay. And again, it's really, in that case, it's really the NFL's call. They did some great things with the Super Bowl where they invited a lot of first responders and healthcare workers. And I don't know if that's exactly what they're going to do, but they're going to come out soon with how that's going to work.
Okay. And again, I just want to say congratulations to you guys. You guys have all done a great job, but I would be remiss, David, if I didn't. I mention it to you every year. You know what I'm going to say.
I do. Special Olympics.
We're looking for that Special Olympics event in the city of Cleveland, and if I could be of help of any way in that, with that, please let me know.
I appreciate it very much. We're gonna take another look. The actually a conversation not that long ago with a city that ran the U.S. Special Olympics and had a terrific experience with it.
All right, thank you.
Thanks very much. I don't know. I guess I don't see any other hands, any other questions. Doug, you want to?
No, I just want to, say thank you, everybody. I guess we've all hit our appointed time. This has been helpful for us, we feel, in deepening the partnership and making sure we address your questions and you see a little more about, as Kevin said, about the leveraging impact and return on investment that you get. We agree. And we think we're very good stewards of your money and your partnership. So thanks, and look forward to more good things coming. And enjoy the draft, however it unfolds. I think we're all kind of holding our breath a little bit, but we also know it's going to be very special for the community.
All right, well, thanks for everything.
Take care.
Everybody's
Thanks, everyone.